Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying on with us here on WION The World is One. I'm Molly Gambhir. As we piece together the latest coming in from Kabul, it's a series of unfortunate developments and what a day it has been in terms of the fast-paced gains that have been made by the Taliban over the last few hours and days. With the rapid territorial advancement, the Taliban now are in Kabul. Ashraf Ghani, the president, is no longer in the country. He has left for Tajikistan. So has the vice president of Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh. Those are the key developments that we have been getting to you as and when they have been confirmed. We have not been going into the realm of speculation. Multiple possibilities that have been doing the rounds, a lot of names that have been talked about when it comes to who will be heading the interim council, what shape it will take. We are only getting you the confirmed developments that we have been getting in from Kabul as well as New Delhi. To help us better understand what the situation is looking like and what this means for the entire region, joining us from Tel Aviv is Mayor Javed Anfar, West Asia analyst, co-author of The Nuclear Sphinx of Tehran. Thanks very much for being here with us. Your reaction to what we have seen unfold over the last few hours, the pace at which the Taliban have made these gains on the ground?
Well, I think everybody's surprised. I'm not the only one. The initial U.S. assessments was that it would take something like 3 months for the Taliban for the Afghan government to collapse, but we see it's happening much sooner. Look, this is the big reason. We have to look at the general picture. I mean, yes, at a micro level, yes, we can look at what happened with Taliban. The question is, which I think is also of relevance to your viewers in India, is that why is America doing this? And this is all about China. This is all about America repositioning itself to confront China, because we now have a geopolitical clash that is very, very important to the Biden administration. It's so important to the Biden administration that it pulled out Patriot anti-missile systems from the Middle East. It's so important to the Biden administration that it's pulling out of Afghanistan, even though the pictures don't look good. How is Afghanistan related to China? Well, through Pakistan, because basically one of the major reasons why the Taliban succeeded, because there's a state sponsor of terrorism called Pakistan who supported the Taliban, and Pakistan is an ally of China. So Americans want to weaken China through Pakistan by withdrawing from Afghanistan. So this is the main issue. It's going to be now, this is basically the U.S. positioning itself to confront China as part of the ongoing balance of power competition between America and China.
Right. Speaking of which, what is your assessment of the impact that this will have on the entire region, specifically on India?
Well, India's had to be honest with you, I think you're going to have to be very careful about Taliban, perhaps some Taliban organizations helping other terror organizations in Pakistan to carry out operations in Kashmir, but also your interests in Afghanistan are going to be undermined greatly. Basically now, this is, and again, India is now seen as an ally of the United States more than ever, which is why the Russians recently had a conference but did not invite India. The conference was, if I'm not mistaken, was about Afghanistan. India was not invited. India is now on this as part of an alliance with Israel, with the United States, with the United Arab Emirates. This is the way India is perceived. So this means, on the one hand, India is going to enjoy great commercial cooperation with the countries that it's seen as part of access with. It's going to have access to top-notch military technology. But on the other side of the equation, that means that India is going to be now confronted on various fronts, and one of them is going to be Afghanistan. Your interests, your citizens This is not good news for India, but on the other hand, India needs now to reposition itself, and in my humble opinion, to strengthen its relations with the United States, with Israel, with the Quad. And Afghanistan is going to be one part of a long equation of balance of power competition between China and the United States, and India is on the side of the United States.
Mayor, in your view, are things going to be any different this time around when it comes to the Taliban's treatment of women and children? We've been speaking to several experts who've said that the Taliban have not changed. They've not changed their stripes. And they've been saying that they fear the worst when it comes to the plight of Afghan women.
You know, I'm a parent. I don't know if you're a parent. I'm sure there are many parents are watching, and it just makes me shudder to think the Taliban, which is an organization, it's already looking for 12-year-old girls. The Taliban has a long history of pedophilia. I'm sorry to use that expression on your show, but it's a fact. It's terrorists. There are numerous stories about pedophilia, what they do to young girls also. I would like to be hopeful, but I can't. I really cannot. The people of some people who disagree with American policies, and of course America also makes mistakes, are jumping on the bandwagon that America made a mistake of invading Afghanistan. Okay, you can say that, but I don't see Afghan people cheering or being happy that the United States is leaving Afghanistan. How many other people do you know who've been occupied, so-called, by another country, and they are sad to see them go? But this is not the case with America. A majority of Afghans are sad to see America go because they know what awaits them. And one of the biggest reasons why, again, Taliban is successful in Afghanistan and all this misery is being brought upon the people of Afghanistan is Pakistan, the Pakistani regime, the Pakistani secret service. This is why Afghanistan is a failed state. If Pakistan would have cooperated with the United States to rebuild Afghanistan, America would have been successful. The people of Afghanistan would have been successful.
But it's a very pertinent point that he was making there, expressing concern over what lies ahead for the women of Afghanistan, for the children of Afghanistan. Do we anticipate a repeat of what was witnessed? Unfortunately, one thing that the experts we've been talking to agree upon is that the Taliban have not changed, and they do anticipate the worst when it comes to the plight of Afghan women. Going back across to Mayor. Mayor, we unfortunately lost you there for a bit. Go ahead with the point that you were making.
Look, I'm not being. I can't be hopeful. I can't be. I can't be. Have a positive. I can't be positive. I can't be optimistic. I think we should just expect the worst. Just expect the worst in the Taliban. Why should they change? Why should they? This is the same fundamentalist terrorist organization. Why should they change? I don't think they are going to change.
Right, and they've been laying out reassurances in terms of how they plan to treat the people of Afghanistan. They've mentioned that this will be the interpretation of their interpretation of the Sharia, but nobody really knows what that means in terms of, like you're saying, whether there will be any change per se. Why I talk about the possibility of a change is the very fact that that's the only reason for optimism at this point, if at all, when it comes to what lies ahead for Afghan women. Reports already emerging of how they had earlier asked for lists of girls above the age of 15, for widows under the age of 45. So, as you're saying, the worst does seem to be playing out. Unfortunately, there hope also seems to be fizzling out, and no optimism on that front. Let's just also talk about the manner in which the Taliban once again have portrayed this entire narrative of they have pushed ahead with those territorial advancements, and the elaborate propaganda that has been laid out with their statement saying that we will be waiting at the doors of Kabul. We will not forcefully take over the capital. We want a peaceful transition of power, and the way in which they have stitched together this entire narrative.
Well, you know, I think the Taliban basically wanted to make. Look, they are winners. There's no other way of. You can't negotiate with the Taliban. You know, during the Second World War, there were some people in Britain who wanted, while Hitler was taking over half of Europe, they wanted Winston Churchill to negotiate with Hitler. This is while Hitler was winning, and Winston Churchill famously said, "You cannot negotiate with a lion when your head is in its mouth." In other words, the lion, you're completely at the disposal of the other side. You're going to be chewed away. This is the situation with Taliban. Yes, we're going to hear different narratives, but Taliban are basically going to do what they want to do. This is what anybody who cares about human rights is worried. Is that they're going to do whatever they want to do with the people of Afghanistan, with the women of Afghanistan, with the children of Afghanistan, and there's nothing that can be done. Other countries in the region, like the Russians and the Chinese, they're all worried about their interests. And to be honest with you, I can understand. Of course, the Chinese are worried about the Taliban supporting the Uyghurs. There's some of the Uyghur Muslims who are already in Afghanistan, and the Chinese want to contain that threat by having relations with Taliban. The Iranians are trying not to antagonize the Taliban because there is no way that they can be defeated, because, as I said before, they are supported by Pakistan. There's a whole state, a nuclear state that's standing behind them, that they have had safe havens in Pakistan. They've received training in Pakistan, God knows, probably weapons and funds. And they're the ones who taken over. And, America was not a superpower who was willing to kill tens of thousands of people. If that was the case, it would have been different. Of course, America may have prolonged its occupation. But, of course, America didn't do that, thankfully. So this is the situation. Taliban are going to act as victors, but not just any victor, as a medieval fundamentalist extremist regime.
Mayor, we have been tracking very closely the reactions coming in from the United States. The Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, just a short while back, has said that the Afghan forces are to be blamed for not being able to defend their country. Does it not seem to be a very convenient stance that the U.S. is taking? Can they succeed in pushing away a part of their blame with these statements?
This is a very, very difficult situation for President Biden. I don't want to make predictions. It's very dangerous. But what's happening in Afghanistan could cost President Biden his presidency. I know it's too soon, but they're going to use this against him. They're going to bleed him dry politically. But at the same time, if I were President Biden, there's a very strong chance that I would have taken the same decision that he's taken recently with regards to Afghanistan. This is a situation that was unwinnable for the United States. This is a situation mainly, again, because the Taliban were supported by another state, and also they are terrorists who don't care about human lives, whereas the United States has to be much more careful. So President Biden trying to politically justify what he's doing, I can understand it. With regards to Afghanis not fighting the Taliban, I don't know. Maybe the Americans are trying to deflect blame, but on the other hand, trying to fight Taliban in Afghanistan is like trying to shoot fish in a huge sea or in an ocean. It's very, very difficult. They're among the people. They hide among the people. They dress in civilian clothes. They don't dress in uniforms. You could just be a normal person who suddenly will pull out a Kalashnikov and start shooting. So it's very difficult for the Afghan security forces to defeat them. But also we cannot deny the fact that America, unfortunately, had to side with a lot of corrupt Afghan officials who, instead of using the trillions of dollars that America spent on developing Afghanistan, they hid it, they put it in their personal accounts. Look at some of the pictures coming out of Afghanistan today of the house of General Dostum. it looks like a palace in Switzerland. So that also cannot be denied, that yes, there were people in Afghanistan who were not only not unwilling to fight, but the leadership, political leadership, was deeply, deeply corrupt.
Like we discussed right at the outset, Mir, the pace of the Taliban gains on the ground have left many shocked. What explains this? What is the reason, according to you, for this? It's almost like the Taliban playbook has come to life and things have been unfolding exactly the way they wanted.
They have better intelligence. The Taliban have got better intelligence because they can infiltrate Kabul without being detected. They probably have some support on the ground in Kabul. They probably got some other people within Kabul to support them, to give him intelligence about when to attack, where to attack. But also, a lot of this has to do with psychology. The Taliban dealt a lot of psychological blows, one after the other. We saw how different cities in Afghanistan basically fell like a house of cards for various reasons. So psychologically, this kind of reduces the motivation of other people to fight when they see there's an avalanche coming, and it keeps getting bigger, as was the case with Taliban coming towards Kabul. A lot of people decide just to move out of its way, and this is the situation that seems to have happened in Kabul. But also, you cannot deny the fact that, as you quite rightly said in your previous question, there were some people in Afghanistan, of the Afghanistani forces, who were unwilling to put up any fight, and this goes back to the issue of corruption, which is a I don't want to get too philosophical about this on your show, but if one day some PhD student does research, we will find that corruption has killed more people than nuclear weapons. So, and this is yet another consequence of corruption that we see, that the Afghan military, which receives so much money and training from the United States, didn't even put up a fight.
Right. We've been talking about what the next few days and weeks could hold for the people of Afghanistan, Mir, in terms of the power structure and the power negotiation talks that have been underway. One thing is for sure, that we will see some sort of confirmation on what the power structure will look like over the next few hours. This could be an interim council, is what we understand at this point. Would you like to comment on what the power structure could mean immediately at this point?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. What is happening in Afghanistan is a kind of a revolution, and we've seen throughout history that usually in revolutions, immediately after revolutions, the power structure is very fluid, and it changes very rapidly. There's a lot of power dynamics within organizations that take over a country, and that is likely to be the case with Afghanistan. But on the general picture, I don't think it's going to bring much change. I don't think it's going to lead to Taliban taking a more lenient attitude towards its people. However, as I said, the Taliban also, I don't know how it's going to affect Taliban's relationship with its neighbors. If I may, my expertise, I focus on Iran a lot. So Iran, for example, is going to be quite concerned because on the one hand, the Taliban is taking over Afghanistan. There's going to be a lot of refugees fleeing Afghanistan, understandably. They're going to go to Iran. Iran is in the grips of COVID right now. There's very high unemployment. There's power shortage. And that's a major issue for the Iranians. How are they going to handle this? Another issue, if I could add, is also Taliban is a fundamentalist Sunni organization. There is a Shia minority in Afghanistan. We have to wait and see how the Taliban treat their Shia minority. Because if they start massacring them, then that could lead to tensions with Iran. So we have to also wait and see. But in terms of the power structure, it really, as it happens in a lot of revolutions and regime changes, in the initial months, there's going to be a lot of fluidity and changes, and that's what I think we should expect.
Right. May I have to ask you this, since we have been struggling to find reasons to be optimistic at this point, to what extent do we anticipate any form of international intervention aside from the statements and the rhetoric? Even, if you may, an emergency session of the UN Security Council. To what extent, to your mind, will any of these interventions help immediately or in the future? UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the latest saying that countries should not recognize the Taliban as the Afghan government. Statements like these sound very good on paper, sound very good during press conferences, but to what extent do they really impact the situation on the ground?
Sorry for being so pessimistic. The Taliban doesn't care. So what the EU doesn't recognize them? So what? They don't care. They're going to have relations with China, with Russia, it seems right now from Iran, and most importantly with Pakistan. So, okay, the EU is not going to recognize them. I don't think the Taliban are going to lose a minute of sleep over this. This is not the issue that's of concern to them. No, I don't think I don't think the Taliban are going to be affected. Of course, other countries have to take a stand, of course. But the most they can do is threaten diplomatic retaliation. Nobody wants to become involved. One issue that I think is worth keeping an eye on is the involvement of Turkey. The Turks are, if I'm not mistaken, they've been involved in Kabul airport. They want to provide security for it. And this is something that the Taliban have not been happy with. So we have to see how that develops, that story of Turkey, Taliban develops in Afghanistan. But apart from that, other countries, apart from strongly worded denunciations, especially in Western Europe and the United States, there's not much that they can do. And to be, as I said, quite frank, Taliban doesn't care much.
Mayor, appreciate very much you joining us on the broadcast and helping us better understand what these unfortunate developments mean for the people of Afghanistan and for the entire region. I believe you still have a point to make. Go ahead.
I would like to wish the people of India happy Independence Day. We in Israel are very proud and grateful for your friendship, and I wish India an eternity of prosperity, peace and stability, and happy Independence Day.
Thanks very much, Mayor. We have been wishing our viewers in India a very happy Independence Day all along. We've been at the same time tracking the latest coming in from Afghanistan. Thanks very much once again, Mayor, for your time and your perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.